I'd like to call order this month's BZA meeting for the city of Beavercreek. Before we get started, I am going to ask that everybody give me a little latitude for any procedural errors I may make today, since this is my first time being the chair. The process for both cases will basically be the same. We'll have the reading of the request for the variance and get the staff report at that time. There may be some questions of the staff from any of the members on the board at that particular time, but we're still not looking for any public input. After the staff report, we'll open up the floor for people pro or con for that particular case. When you come up to the podium, is there the sheet up there? There's an oath that you have to read to go into record, and then you go ahead and present whatever you want to do. Again, at that time, you may get some request.
I'm so sorry, but just quickly, may we call roll before we can...
It would probably be a better idea if we do that.
Mr. Martinez?
Present.
Mr. Thomas?
Present.
And Ms. Dodd?
Here.
Well, now that we're all accounted for. Again, during the public portion of it, we may engage the person at the podium. Hopefully, we don't get anybody from the floor. It makes it a lot easier if your turn will be called to be able to come into the podium. At that time, after everybody's got to speak, we'll go ahead and close the public portion of it, and then we'll go into the discussion within the board. That is strictly discussion within the board in the panel. If we have a clarification, we'll ask whatever individual that spoke on that. After that portion is done, then the roll for vote will be taken, and then the conclusion of whatever that will be. With that being said, the first case today will be case 849. Would you want to go ahead and read it in?
Sure, thank you. So the purpose of this hearing is so the Board of Zoning Appeals may review and act on a variance request made by property owner Joshua Keaton. The nature of the request is to seek a variance from the requirement that no fence shall exceed a height of 3 feet when located in a required front yard setback. The applicant is seeking a variance from the requirements of Article 18.06-2. The applicant has erected a non-conforming fence and is requesting a variance in lieu of demolishing the fence. The property is located at 156 Ridgebrook Trail in the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township and is zoned residential plan unit development. The parcel ID is B030010022009800. I do have a brief staff report for you on this case. Just get that for you. Okay, I'm going to pull it up here. I suppose. Okay, I had it up too. Hold on just a moment for me. All right. Okay. So the applicant in this case, Joshua Keaton, obtained a permit for a fence configuration that did meet all the requirements of the zoning resolution, a legal fence. But the township inspector completed her inspection. So basically what happens is when we issue the permit, we then ask the applicant, the contractor usually, hey, please let us know when the fence is staked out so we can come and inspect its location before you put it all in and make sure it's good. Lori did that inspection it matched the plan, which was, again, an acceptable configuration. After that inspection, at some point, it's our understanding that the applicant communicated with the contractor and said, hey, can we push this out a little bit? The contractor, without consulting with us, said, sure, which I get it. Contractors that's kind of their default answer. Yeah, we can make that happen. Then they went ahead and did that without doing a revised plot plan or consulting with us anyway. Unfortunately, they pushed a 4-foot tall fence into a front yard setback, which is too tall for the front yard setback. We have no issue with it. We went out and took a look at it. There's no line of sight problems that we can see. It's on a corner lot, which is how it got pushed into the front yard setback. We've been here before as a board of zoning appeals where corner lots have 2 front yard setbacks, which are generally very difficult to build within that building envelope in what would we consider a normal fashion, house. Fence comes out a little bit from the house. In fact, it's often said that corner lots are the reason for boards of zoning appeals to exist, right? So staff has 0 issues with this variance being issued, but we did want to make you aware of the kind of unique situations of how this arose. We've communicated with the contractor who, in fact, informed us that a subcontractor was used for the fence work. So we've kind of informed them, hey, you need to, work with your subcontractors to understand that they cannot just make changes to an approved plan without coming through the proper process, and they know that. Their subcontractor just did not know that. We've noted that there are a number of lots within River Reserve that have fences that are taller than 4 feet within front yard setbacks, either that were granted variances or maybe outside of zoning regulations in an illegal way, but that were not brought to our attention. Either way, it exists in the neighborhood, and again, we recommend this variance be granted. We couldn't foresee any detrimental impact to health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding residents, which is our main concern here, and so we think it should be granted, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I've got one question, and that came from, I think if I can remember reading it on the April 5th letter that come through. That said the way they found out was somebody complained. Now, was the complaint somebody in the neighborhood that didn't like the fence? What can you expound upon on that?
The April 5th, oh, I'm sorry, the email that's included here?
Yes.
I'm afraid I cannot, because that was handled by Lori Brown. So I don't have a lot of details about the complaint itself.
I mean, that's kind of critical for us to sit down there to make a decision. Was there somebody in the neighborhood that really had a problem with the fence?
Well, I can only say that my recollection is it was the same complainant who brought the complaint for the other fence that you saw during the last meeting. I don't know much more about what her specific complaint was in terms of if she thought it was a safety risk or some other. I just know that it was that same person. I wish I could tell you more. Typically, Lori would be here to maybe answer some of those questions.
But if the person lived in the neighborhood, but not within the prescribed envelope to receive notice, she may not be aware that the case is going on. Is that correct?
That could be a possibility, yes. Mark?
Sorry about being late.
It's all right.
You're up here.
Right here.
You're up here. I was cutting grass.
See?
No way. That's a trip.
Exactly what I was doing. Sorry about that.
So again, her specific nature of her complaint, I don't know. All I can tell you is that we went and investigated it, and when I say I foresee no detrimental impact to any of these, health, safety, or welfare, we foresee none. I believe, this is difficult to say, but some neighbors are nosy for the sake of being nosy, have complaints for the sake of complaining. And I would venture to guess that this was more in line with that style of complaint than with any more legitimate health or safety or welfare concern.
Thank you. Anybody else?
All right, so explain, this is this is 2 front yards, okay? This is a corner lot, 2 front yards. Explain 1806-2 or 3 or 4, because it's sticking in. Is it close enough? Is it far enough away from the curb? Is it far enough away from the sidewalk? Is it, okay, explain those things to me.
Sure. So specifically, -2 of 18.06.
I understand the height.
Yeah,
That's the height.
Yeah, and as far as we're aware, it does not violate any other of those issues. So it's just the height variance is what they're requesting. Yeah.
Do you know what the distance is from?
We can, I mean, it was not mentioned as part of the variance application, so I would have to take a look and see if they've got their plot plan included here.
So how far is it out from the house?
Do you get an idea? Can you give them an idea?
The fence extends 6 feet from the edge of the house, and I do have the information on that setback in regard to the article if you would like it.
We'll wait till you get up there.
Okay.
Sure. And I can pull that information up from the article for you for sure in terms of where the fence is located.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We would go off our permit information, but that's incorrect at this
Okay,
time.
thank you.
Pull that up.
Because it was a little confusing, I understand, because initially there was a thought that not only was the height the issue, but the setback was an issue. Then it came back out that everybody agreed that the setback was not an issue, that he was within compliance with the code. Is that correct?
I'm unaware of the initial setback
But in
issues.
this reading, it sort of sounded like that.
It sounded like it in the reading when it was sent out, that
Because it's 2 front yards.
Yeah.
I understand, but
Yeah.
when they initially came out, they said that the part of it was both height and setback, and then another department come back and you talk to them, or somebody did, and says, no, they're in compliance on the setback, that the only issue then is the height issue.
Okay.
I mean, that's what was stated in the packet that we got.
Okay. Again, unfortunately, I'm unaware of any potential setback issues. The only issue I was aware of was that it was a 4-foot fence inside a front yard setback. And that's as far as I'm aware, that's the only variance that they're seeking. I don't believe that there is a potential distance from road or any other kind of issue. It's just
Okay.
height. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You want to roll?
Yeah, you better say I'm here or something, I don't know.
Yes, if
For the record.
we'll just go ahead and modify our roll call and just include Mr. Pete.
Thank you. No, you're fine.
Any other questions?
Did you drive by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, do we have anybody speaking for? Please step up to the podium, state your name for the record, and read the oath.
My name is Joshua Keaton, and I, Joshua Keaton, from 156 Riverbrook Trail, Xenia, Ohio, solemnly swear that the statements I'm about to make before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief. Again, initially there was the issue of the setback distance. Through communication with Lori Brown, we were able to clarify that it was not a setback. I have some emails here if anybody needs to see that. It is a 4-foot height issue. Again, that was the contractors. We did come back the day after they did the layout, and I asked contractors, is there any way we can extend it 6 feet, expecting the same format for them to just go through and get the approval. And apparently that didn't happen. And speaking to Lori and Max, I believe they have a good working relationship with this contractor, and for whatever reason it just didn't happen. So that's why we're asking for the variance, so that we can keep that here. It was just appears to be a mistake at our expense, but you know, it is what it is. So if there's any other questions, I don't know if I can answer. Anything I can clarify that was
So you said you did know the distance from the curb to the.
Yeah,
to the fence.
18063, requires a 25-foot setback from the center
Center.
line of the street if there are no curbs or gutters on that street. We do have curbs and gutters, so it's 12 feet
12
from the back of the curb. So we were able to verify that that was all good and met that requirement.
Okay. So what do you think it is?
I'm sorry,
How far do you think it is back?
oh, it's, I want to say it's just under 20. Now, close, I'll say that.
I think you're close.
Right around 20.
I think
yeah.
you're close, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did a drive-by.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Now, unlike the other one, when you hit the intersection, it's not a busy intersection, so.
And you can,
So I
Yeah, again, the other one's four-way stop, 25 mile an hour.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Let's not go on that one. Yeah.
and I do have the picture
And that,
from
but
the,
that is on a corner,
That is on a corner.
but
I have for anybody that hasn't been able to come out and see, if you look
I've
at the
seen.
packet, we have the pictures from the first position and second position at that stop sign. So just to verify that it does not block any views, create any traffic situations.
Well, only question I've got, and this is just from curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
in part of the justification that for the keep the fence height was to keep pets in the yard. What kind of animal you got that can clean a 3-foot fence?
One
it don't
bulldog
take
that
much
will
of a
do
dog to
whatever
do
it can
that.
take,
It does take sense.
and then a lab who is
Oh,
pushing 10,
easily.
but acts like
Okay.
it's a year.
Easily.
So,
I
don't do it.
you know, always ready to get after it. So that extra foot does make a difference. Yeah.
we had a dog that would go over a 5-foot fence.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
So,
I hung a dog going over a 6-foot fence.
Didn't.
It hung itself.
Any questions? Thank you very
well,
much.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else to speak for it?
Just one quick, I do have a note from a neighbor who sent in an email in support of this.
Okay.
Tony Borman at 113 Ridge Brook. Unfortunately, they were unable to make it to the hearing, but they would like to voice their opinion in favor of allowing Mr. Keaton's fence to stay. The corner lot at 156 Ridge Brook Trail looks much better with a fence, and this particular fence is well constructed and does not stand out as being out of place at all. I'm not sure how much over the 3-foot maximum this fence is, but it is my opinion that the neighborhood would benefit from keeping this fence in place. Anthony Borman.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody opposed? At this time, we'll close the public hearing and open it to the board. Anybody have anything?
I drove by it, it doesn't really look out of place or anything. That's one thing you look at, if it looks weird, you know what I mean? It doesn't. It looks normal in that neighborhood, quite frankly. That's my only opinion.
And I know we've had
In that same neighborhood, that's why I
different,
went back.
yeah, because of the being a corner lot with the issue of having 2 front yards instead of 2 side yards. It does create something that is never really conveyed to the homeowner when they're buying it. Some of the restrictions that you get when you get a corner lot. And, so, any.
This time I have no concerns.
Huh?
This time I have no concerns.
With that, do I hear a motion, please?
I move that we accept the variance application as submitted.
Yeah.
I second.
And there's a
We ready for a vote?
Vote, please.
All right. Mr. Martinsek,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Pete,
Yes.
and Ms. Gottlieb.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna hand you a, what amounts to a temporary resolution that kinda lets you know that it was passed. Once I draft the official resolution and get it signed by the chair, we'll get you a copy of that, but you can essentially, you know, you've got the variance and everything's good to go. For you, what you'll need to do is just provide a revised copy of the plot plan to us that we can include with the file, and you'll be all set, okay?
Revised copy of the plot plan.
Yeah, so you'll just want to get in touch with Lori and say, hey, what do I need to do to revise the plot plan to match the current fence? And she'll be able to walk you through that.
Okay.
And so what I'd like to do is have you sign this, and then
Yeah.
we're going to have
850.
John, you'll sign this as the chair, please. Thank you very much. So I'm going to make one for our records, and I'm going to make up another one for your records. Okay, Josh? Correct. With the fourth member, you could have a 3-1 split.
I pulled the mower in the garage and got off of it. But I was like, oh my gosh.
You did this once before, I think.
They've called me before. They called me and said, can you come up here? We only got 2. I said, I'll be right there. That's been a long time ago.
If you'll sign, I want the applicant line for you,
Yeah.
all right? Sign this one.
It's a good day to cut grass.
I need to cut it, yeah. Cut a lot of it, too much.
And if you can go ahead and keep that one for your record.
I'm gonna make a motion to put speed bumps on that other one.
And if you'll
Make
sign
sure that's
this one,
intersection safe.
And I will be getting in touch
The other
with you
thing was,
likely
not
later
one neighbor
today.
Okay.
Out of the office until
Not
then,
a single one.
It's in effect, you just want to,
Because they had somebody complain
I
about
know.
fairness.
And this is not, did you drive by this one or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't drive by it.
No.
It's on
I
my
do.
time, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I take that as a, well, you gotta do it, you gotta do a drive-by.
if you can, it's good.
And it's good to do a drive-by,
so,
when
let me clarify.
almost
Typically,
6
when
or 8
people
months
obtain a
after they
variance,
get
it's
approved or whatever, to see if they do anything.
Something more.
Yeah,
You've already received
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Right?
I got
So
it.
you're
I
right.
like to do that one time.
yeah.
All right, you all set?
I appreciate it. I'll get a hold of Lori.
This one's almost-
Let me see if I can find it.
All right, thanks, Josh. You have a good night. Thank you.
this one's almost easy.
Yeah,
All right,
I know
thank
it's
you,
great.
board.
This is the one we approved development not long ago, right? About a year ago.
At this time, we'll move to case 850, and will you please read it in for the record?
Yes. All right, the purpose of the hearing said that the Board of Zoning Appeals may review and act on a variance request made by property owner Kamaljeet Singh. The nature of the request is to seek a variance from the requirement that the combined allowable maximum size of all accessory structures on the lot not exceed 900 square feet. Additionally, the applicant is seeking a variance from the maximum allowable height of accessory structures. The applicant is seeking a variance from the requirements of Article 18.054 and Article 18.055. The applicant desires to erect a detached garage that exceeds the allowable size and height limits. The property is located at 1455 Stone Ridge Court in the unincorporated area of the Beavercreek Township and is zoned A1 agricultural, and the parcel ID number is B03-000-200-41-000-720. I have not prepared a staff report for you. This, in my opinion, is a very cut and dry case. It is a 5-acre lot. They are asking for a 1,200 square foot detached garage. It shouldn't even be, in my opinion, a variance request, but I must do it because the code specifies 900 square feet. I can tell you, as I've told you before, that we are currently working to revise our zoning code so that this will not be an issue in the future. So my recommendation is an emphatic, please pass this. I will answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Is it also the height or not?
It is also the height. The maximum height is 14 feet. I believe his height was 15 feet. Is that correct?
No, no.
If you go to the roof line, it's
Okay. Well, and there was a discussion among you all about how,
what the height was.
yeah, how to measure height. correct?
center.
Yeah, so,
We've been doing it that way ever since I've been on the board, and I know I've been on here at least 15 years or more. We've always done it that way.
Not the midpoint.
Yeah, not the top. It's the midpoint.
and
That's the
we
way
are,
we've done it.
But even
let's
the
just say
midpoint
that's
is
part of
25.
our,
This is,
Something
Oh, it-
near close.
I thought you said, what's his midpoint?
I don't remember now. Is
What's
it-
the total height?
Total height.
I think it was.
total height
30?
is,
Yes.
It's tall. It's a 10-12 pitch.
Oh, is it really? Oh,
Yeah, it's
really
tall.
small. Yeah, okay.
He can't make it because
Yeah,
it's a
with that-
10-12 pitch.
That's a dangerous pitch.
Who's
It
class?
matches the house.
Yeah, that's right.
So I understand that.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, then let's just go ahead. If you're going to speak for it, please step up and we'll get you on the record.
and if you'll, that oath, yes.
My name is Dennis Beatty, 1900 First Avenue, Middletown, Ohio. I solemnly swear that the statements I'm about to make before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief. I was the architect that they hired to design the garage. So when he came to me, he told me what size it was, and I went out to his house and took pictures of the existing structure and then designed the garage to match the existing house. The garage doors match, the brickwork matches, the roof slopes match. I mean, if you put a little garage with a 412 pitch out there on that huge lot, it's just gonna look really bad. So we came up with the garage that matches the house, which seemed to make more sense than anything. So if you got any questions, I'll
I can't argue
answer
that.
them, but kinda is what it is.
I don't have any questions for the building of the garage as much as, and you probably couldn't answer it, maybe something where is the reasoning for the garage. We want to make sure that there's no commercial business being run out of that garage.
Mr. Singh he owns 14 gas stations. It's just his own personal. He has he's got a tractor to cut the grass. He's got 5 acres. He's got some 4-wheelers, and it's just for his own personal use. There's no commercial. He's got 14 other buildings to put that stuff in.
Yeah, I have no suspicions either that it'd be used for any kind of commercial activity.
Well, any time, even though I know it's technically agricultural and you would expect tractors and stuff like that.
Sure.
But anytime you get a garage, that's a pretty good sized garage he's putting over there. He's already got attached garage to go along with it. You have to be concerned, being that big, can they start putting earth moving equipment, dump trucks and stuff like that and run a commercial out of that garage? That's, should always be behind the back of your mind to question it, to make sure that's not the purpose. Granted, he could sit down there and say no and next year do that, but at least it was questioned, they'd be aware that they cannot do that.
Sure. And yes, I 100% agree. It should be made very clear that the purpose of this barn is for your own personal use, and any kind of commercial activity would require special use allowances, a conditional use permit. Sure.
Right.
Excellent.
Plus I own the land. We'll let him come in and talk. If nobody has any other questions for you, then.
What is the footprint of the building? You said it's 30 by 40, isn't that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
30 by 40.
On a 5-acre lot, it's too small.
Too small.
Yeah, it looks small.
It's too small.
It's too small.
I'm just telling you. I got 2 neighbors at 50 by 100s. Yeah.
And just barely enough.
And they can fill them up. But on a 5-acre lot, it's a small building. It truly is.
I have one.
And the problem with that is, someday you sell this property, there's no doubt the next guy might want a bigger building. Although the next guy, he may be able to add like an agriculture building at that time or something like that. I don't. No issue with the leach field, septic, any of that. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And do we have anybody else who wants to speak for the variance? And with that, do we have anybody speak against it? Okay, close the public hearing at this time and open it to
I have no issues at all.
And,
I agree, I think it's
I
too
mean,
small.
obviously, like he said, they want to change it to where you don't have to come for a variance for that size building on 5 acres. It's ridiculous. It truly is. So, I certainly gonna match the house.
I think that's the most important
That's
thing.
the most important.
Is that they really tried to make sure that it fits right in.
It's not a cheap building, no doubt, so I don't think it'll hurt the neighborhood at all. So,
Sounds good to me.
Okay, do I have a motion, please?
looks like that's the right case. I make a motion, we approve case 850 as presented.
Second,
I second it.
vote please.
We're ready for a vote. Mr. Martinson?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Peed?
Yes.
And Ms. Godwell?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so just quickly, as we did with the other applicants, I'm gonna fill these sheets out so you can have a temporary kind of resolution to let you know that the variance has been approved. Essentially, what you'll need to do is work with Lori now to submit the final permit and get all that ready with her. And once you have that, you can go ahead and start
I think
building,
it looks
okay? She should be able to help you do that tomorrow. You won't have to pay for another permit submittal because you've already paid for that
Yeah.
through this process, okay? So let me, I'm gonna have you sign,
Is he gonna sign as the owner or just the
as the
Elected on the vote, he could
applicant,
put up an
really either one of you can sign. Since you've been the applicant listed, I'm gonna have you sign.
That's what we were discussing.
And if you'll sign that one for me, I'm gonna go ahead and
Doesn't
fill out
prevent it from
my
all stuff
copy.
happening all at once. There's probably 10 or 12 on my street alone, pole barns. A couple of them are 50 by 100s
Yeah.
on 6 acres.
Thank you very much.
And a couple of them got 2 barns like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking I gotta become a better lawyer to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Okay, once they get done, we have minutes that they're gonna want us to approve, but there's only 2 people
That were on it.
on the meet,
And then
at the meeting
Can't really do it.
here, so I don't
Yeah, I don't
believe we
think
can
so.
do that.
That's what we've come to the conclusion that.
Yeah.
We were just
I
gonna
think
hold
so.
off on the minutes until.
You don't have to.
Oh my goodness, this is the shortest meeting I've been to.
This is the new
Hey,
development,
there's-
right?
One we had a long time ago, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we had the second part of it another night.
Really?
Yeah, it was awful.
That does sound
It
terrible.
was, had to do with that
That's what I
cement
need for,
company
Lori.
out on
Yeah,
Line Ball Road.
she might require it, but
Yeah, they were
basically,
gonna
I'll be.
line the clay right
Let you
between
know you got
Thank you.
houses. It's in
Probably
Beavercreek
nothing will
Township.
happen until I come back.
Neighbors were all.
That works just fine for us, so it'll be.
Was it denied?
Okay.
Huh?
Was it
Maybe
denied?
next Friday.
No.
Sure.
Oh, they, okay.
No, but they
Uh,
came back
any
and
other
they
questions
changed
or
some
anything?
things. They gave them a 300-foot easement that they've never built on their house.
This is the,
I mean, they said that they's gonna
we approved this, what, a year ago?
damage your wells and all
Year
that,
and a
and
half
it's not
ago?
true.
The split,
The
I was
split of,
gonna tell you,
you know, the,
yeah.
I live in Madison Township.
Yeah.
Outside of Middletown, I designed a bigger garage than this for my neighbor,
Yeah.
and I called it the Garage Mahal.
Yeah,
Ooh, I like that.
And he's got a 3-car garage
Yeah.
and this big
Yeah.
monster garage.
Oh,
next to
yeah.
me. Yeah, so,
yeah.
all right, and he's on 5 acres.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, thank you very much.
Is there
Thank
any
you all. Have a nice
new
night.
business?
All right.
Any new business to present?
I do not. I just will follow up very quickly by letting you guys know, like I said, we are working to make an omnibus update to the zoning resolution. I've talked to you about it before. The regional planning director recently left his position, and so there's been some churn there. Their planner has taken over the position as director. They do not have a planner working there, so she's been pretty swamped, as you can imagine, with all the development that's been going on recently. She kind of asked us, hey, if the omnibus update isn't completely vital, please do not put it on our plate. So it's just going to be maybe another month or two before we're going to have that in front of regional planning. by the end of the year, definitely we will have, you should be seeing more cases.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Your editorial about changing the codes coming down really shouldn't be brought forward when we have an open hearing. In a case where we may have an issue amongst the board and are discussing whether we're going to pass something or not, and you say, well, in 6 months we're going to change it anyway, could put us in a very bad position. So please take that into consideration. I understand the advance in the necessity to do that, but in open session is not the time to bring that up. Agree.
Okay, I appreciate your comment, and I apologize to put you in a difficult position.
The thing of it is, I've been on this board maybe 3 years, and they've been talking about that for 3 years.
They've been talking
That
about it
changed,
for
that
10 years.
Yeah, so,
No.
yeah.
I just,
And it's imminent.
So,
Yeah.
I've got it written. I've got it in front of the regional planning.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's written. It's in front of regional planning. It's been asked to please give us another month or two to look at it. So
That hasn't
it's not
been-
it's not a theoretical thing.
That's farther as it's ever got.
Yeah.
And understand that we've gone through some staffing changes, which has assisted in that timeline being met. And obviously, again, you understand the structure of the zoning department a number of years ago with the staff that was available. The township and the trustees noted that, and obviously have expanded the department overall, that we've been able to hire Max, and again, some of those items that were outstanding are being resolved.
Wow.
Which is this resolution. So,
Good.
so yeah, again, assured it is in front of them, and there are changes that were
and I want to
discussed
make,
in the past.
and I want to make a motion, we lower the speed limit on Ankeny Road.
Talk to the county engineer.
Well, I think it's a township road we were discussing.
Oh, is it township road?
I believe Ankeny is township,
Okay.
but
It's 45.
there's some state issues.
There's
There's
some state
55.
issues in regards to that, yeah.
It's 55, it's unmarked, it's 55 mile an hour.
I never do 55, I never do
Yeah.
55.
I mean, at one
I
time,
wish we could do that, like that, but.
at one time, there was no houses on the road to speak of, but they're,
All right, so
Ju-
where's
ju-
that?
Just to look at
Right by
all
the
the
new
took
school.
to make
By
the
Coy School.
changes
Why
on
not?
trade
That guy's
line up
45.
to Fairground and all
Well,
that.
that's the.
Yeah, that took a long time to get that accomplished itself. With that, before we go further, do I have a motion to close?
well, nothing else.
I have no other business for you.
I'll make a motion, we close the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Meeting is closed. Now we can have any discussion.